Hello, everyone. I'm Felicia Rondo, and that's close over there.
Hey yo.
And this is the latest issue, or book anyway, of Batman and the Joker: The Deadly Duo. So,
Woo.
well, indeed, we've been having so much fun with this comic. It is just, such a breath of fresh air. And
Yeah, it's honestly you would not expect how fun this is from how like grim the art can look.
I mean, even just looking at this cover with all these zombie jokers, I would not have guessed this would be such a fucking jam. But here we
You
are.
gotta look a little closer and see Joker jauntily walking along.
Yeah.
There's your hint that things might not be as down in the dumps as you might fear.
Yeah. But 5 books in out of 7, and this is still good.
This is a very high quality comic. Just to get out of the whole, just to get out of the way before we got do the thing where we review this all critically and whatnot.
Mhm.
Just talk about like whether or not you should pick up this book. Yes,
Yeah.
this is really good. If you like Batman, like I think at all, this is a really worthwhile like look for you.
It's so
Um,
good.
Note, of course, that as we mentioned with the grimness, it's gory, it's violent.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker is one of the principal characters here. He tends to kill people. He is a murderer.
And he
Um,
he does what he does best in this comic. Um,
hmm
but also like it's not cheap at any point. It very
Yeah,
much like earns every moment it has with this.
yeah, I very much agree there. This Mark Silvestri has done such a great job
Yeah.
um, with this whole book, and
We're very
I just,
impressed, and we are not easy to impress.
I mean, I like to think I'm not that picky, actually. That said, I do think this is excellent. Um, I would put this into just like the upper echelons of just
Hmm.
you know Batman stories to read, like The Killing Joke. Also, Joker stories to read.
Hmm.
There's not that many.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just say we're not easy to impress. It's just sort of like in the sense that like there's a lot of comics that come out that we just roll our eyes out of our eye sockets for. So that this is a
Yeah,
comic
but
that
those are bad comics.
this exceeds, and
Yes.
we enjoy that. So, I guess should we just dig into this cover?
Yeah.
So in the cover, it depicts a scene that we generally just kind of get in the comic itself, which nice when the comic is reflected by the cover. Um,
Hmm.
Batman and the Joker are like entering into this. I think they're going into towards the light here,
Yeah.
and like behind them are these horrible Joker zombies that are all bony and sharp teethed.
And they're also like emerging from the wall and the floor, and you can see like their intestines and such spilling out from under them.
Yeah.
Um, it's very like hellish, I want to say.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that's the cover. When you open the
It's
book,
it's a very nice cover if you can handle guts and terrible creatures.
yes. When you open the book, you get a nice scratchy, gritty page for credits. Um, and they get a story and art by Mark Silvestri, colors by Arif Prianto. I'm just guessing with these pronunciations. Letters by Troy Peteri. Special thanks to Matt Hawkins, and special thanks to Bridget Silvestri.
Mhm.
We open on the outside of police douchebag Bennett's house.
Yeah, I forget his rank, and I also don't care, and it won't matter soon.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
Bennett asks, "Do I look like a coward to you, Bullock?" And Bullock responds that
Yeah.
actually,
We move into the interior where he is conversing with Harvey Bullock,
mhm,
while a couple of other officers are in the foreground. One, of course, eating a donut.
of course he is. Of course he. Oh, one of them has coffee. I bet it was like, hey, can I dip my donut in your coffee? And it was like, yeah, you could dip your donut in my coffee. And then they dipped his donut in his coffee, and then they ate the donut. That's what I think happened.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Bennett, who we met previously, being I believe the head of the SWAT team,
Yes.
uh, has been assigned a security detail on account of the fact that he was involved in the terrible wedding fiasco,
Yes.
and everyone who was involved in the terrible wedding fiasco is having their heads ripped off by Joker zombies. So,
Mm-hmm.
as any reasonable person would, Bullock has decided that a protection detail might help Bennett. Bennett disagrees, and honestly, what a toxic masculinity douchebag moment it is.
Because Bennett doesn't care what Bullock's boyfriend Batman says. He don't need bodyguards, and he
He
won't
also
be.
hates gay people.
He also hates gay people, and then he
Mm.
doesn't need won't be a prisoner in his own house. And Bullock says, "Funny." That's pretty much what Blick said, except for the boyfriend part. You haven't happened to see his head lying around anywhere, have you? And then Bennett.
Bennett,
Bennett gestures to his many guns.
his big old gun collection.
He believes in the
That
Second
gun,
Amendment.
and this gun, a SWAT gun, other
Gun,
guns.
guns, yeah.
Just a big old gun rack, and
He's
it's just such a
as far as dialogue goes, he just says nobody's going to mess with me, and it's just see it's the same penciler artist as the writer. It's a story artist person, Mark
yeah.
Silvestri. I just like how like he doesn't they don't talk about his. I mean, Bullock does, but like I just imagine him just like okay, but have him show like a really funny big gun collection to Bullock. Bullock says impressive. Remind me to show you my Pokemon collection on our next sleepover. Bullock would say Pokemon. I will
He
not
would.
let in this.
Yeah, I agree. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm here to support you.
Thank you. Bennett, the utter fucking mansplainer that he is, it tells Bullock that the door is behind him, as if Bullock wouldn't know that. What other way would he even get into the house? What a dipshit.
But yeah, Bullock leaves, mentioning that while he may not like Bennett, he also doesn't want him to become dead.
Yeah, I actually really like the line itself. Listen, Bennett, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I want to zip you up in a body bag, okay? And this kind of like harkens to the general like sort of like theme of this book, or at least one of them, where it's like not liking someone doesn't mean they should be dead,
Mm-hmm.
and like how Batman is kind of having to internalize that with the Joker and yeah, Bullock leaves, remarking that Bennett should maybe think about locking the door. We turn the page, and
We are later that night, clearly.
Bennett is demanding another beer from the cops. And when they don't come to give him the beer, he remarks how lazy they are,
Yeah.
only to discover that they are fucking dead. And
Yeah, their chests torn open.
and Bennett, bleeding heart that he is like, God damn it! at the sight of this grisly death of humanity.
Yeah. Double murder here.
Yeah. But
he pulls out a revolver,
Yeah.
saying that he's not afraid of
Only to be interrupted by a very Grim Reaper dressed Joker zombie going "Hiss," and
or
then
hissing,
hissing,
to be
yeah.
clear.
And then Bennett is like, "My God!" in a really tiny text, so he's like just under his breath. And then he screams as the Joker zombie brutally murders him.
Yeah, presumably by just grabbing him by the head and then removing the head.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Really bad, really bad.
Yeah, but with Bennett's life taken care of in only 2 pages, we move on to the Batman.
They took care of that really quickly for us, and I really appreciate it from Mark Silvestri. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, with just it being 2 pages, those were some really good 2 pages that gave us everything. Like, I didn't even notice it, just that. But I really do want to compliment Mark Silvestri for just the very efficient storytelling going on.
Yeah, because some comics will really just waste your time and waste paper on stuff that could have been taken care of in, like here, 2 pages if you're like a good comic writer.
Yeah, because not only is this just taking care of this story beat in just 2 pages, but like it doesn't feel like it's rushing at all.
Yeah.
It just really smoothly fits in, and yeah.
Very, very solid comic storytelling. It's that stuff
Mm-hmm.
that, like, in a better world I'd be able to take for granted, but I am not in that world, and I won't be taking it for granted.
Yeah.
And then we
But
have more...
we meet Batman examining the asses at the site of the church that got exploded in the previous wedding flashback, and doing a bunch of narration.
If I may,
Mm-hmm.
we are only just looking at one comic this time, for once.
Yeah.
The charred ruin of St. Gabriel's Cathedral sits on land owned by Donald Sims. His grim reminder to the citizens of Gotham, the police, and Batman that his daughter died here, and we are all to blame. The aftermath of that day destroyed lives and ended careers. Jim Gordon took the blame on himself and intended to resign. I convinced him not to. Gotham was scarred that day, and in the months that followed, the Wayne Sims Foundation was formed to help it heal. The foundation takes care of those caught in the crossfire of the police and Batman's war on crime. A thumb in the broken dam of Gotham. There is no solid evidence to suggest that Sims is behind the recent events with the Joker, but all roads lead back to here. Back to then. The Joker botched an armored car heist. The ensuing police chase ended here at the cathedral. The Joker and his gang took hostages and began killing them. I tried to stop him. That's when everything went wrong. In the following full-page spread, we get another flashback to the wedding, where it happened.
Yeah. We cut in right where the previous flashback ended. As Batman's fist connects to the Joker's face, the SWAT team barrels in through the windows. The grenades that Joker's team set up all get triggered and start to blow. Mm-hmm. And Batman just tries to save some lives as best he can.
The Joker attached grenades and C4 to the cathedral's main support pillars. Bennett's men stormed in, setting off tripwires rigged to the booby traps. In the chaos, the hostages began running for the exits. Most weren't going to make it. I had to save as many as I could. The armored car was my best option. My mistake was not realizing Donald Sims was still alive. And we see Donald Sims. I freshly shot to not existing anymore.
And we see his daughter leaping away from the armored car to her father.
Mm-hmm.
Just as everything goes wrong.
Batman leaps to save them, and he has them both in his arms as he's leaping out from the explosion,
covering them with his cape and trying to sort of protect them in an effort that should have been futile.
St. Gabriel's was considered a marvel of engineering when it was built nearly 200 years ago. Because the structure was so tall, it was said that only God's will kept it from collapsing. When the city wanted to build a subway tunnel under its foundation, the idea was met with heavy public protest. Ignoring safety concerns, the city built it anyway. And it's the only reason I'm alive today.
As we see Batman tackling the two Simses to the ground, and the floor collapses beneath them, just in time to prevent them from being destroyed by the explosions.
I had lost hold of Amanda Sims in the fall. When the smoke in the tunnel cleared, I saw her. It's at that point, yeah.
Very, very tastefully obscured silhouette of her. You can see her wedding veil, and you can see the sharp planks of wood sticking out of her back.
Yeah.
And then the horrified face of her father. As Batman's face is, of course, hidden in shadow, all dramatic-like.
To this day, I am unsure if the sound I heard was the wail of approaching sirens, or Donald Sims' tortured screaming. Only to be alerted, Batman, by a twig breaking, like someone stepping on something, like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a footstep noise anyway.
Yes, and Batman notices that there's a Joker zombie, but he didn't see me, or if it did, he didn't care. The bag it's carrying is soaked with blood.
And Batman was also, before he noticed the Joker zombie, was staring at the hole that had collapsed that had allowed him and Sims to survive the explosion, which the Joker creature zombie then is walking into.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, of course, holding a bag that, of course, has a head in it, and it is, of course, Bennett's.
Yes. Batman stealthily tails this Joker zombie while the narration continues. The first encounter I had with one of these creatures was less than 4 blocks from here on Canal Street. At the time, I didn't understand why it chose the escape path it did, why it ran into a dead end. Now I do. It was the most direct route here. These tunnels sneak for miles under the neighborhoods and waterways of Gotham. Derelict for decades. It's assumed the Joker and Harley Quinn used them to evade capture that day. I let it go for now. A mark will make it easy to track later when I'm ready. First rule of detective work: follow the money. As Batman
pulls out a little gadget and then fires a little tracker onto the bag.
Yeah. And then we get the title page: Batman and the Joker, the deadly duo.
As usual, on a sort of black background that's all scratchy and.
You know, it's really gritty. It's really kind of like basic, but I do appreciate it after just kind of following a comic for years that just has kind of an ESPN Sports Center vibe to all of its all of these pages.
Yeah.
Chapter 5, The Wedding. And we
open now onto Wayne Manor, seeing it in the distance as the Joker speaks out saying, "Hello!" And we cut to inside where he is standing up, his hands cuffed, his hood with all the zippers on, just standing in the middle of a vague room under a spotlight.
Yes.
Very dramatic. He goes on to say, "Anybody there? Hey, FYI, I drank a lot of iced tea again today. I'm not joking, guys. I really gotta use the bathroom." Hey. And then a yellow glove removes the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who could wear yellow gloves? He says, "Finally, I'm about ready to burst." Ooh. As he sees and learns, as we do,
This is
that
Barbara
there's
Gordon.
a plot twist, as he says on the next page, as we see that girl.
who asks very simply, "Where's Gordon?"
And before Joker can even get out his pithy sentence of "Who wants to know?" he is being slugged across the face by Barbara.
And here Mark's hitting a man in shackles. "You afraid of a fair fight, tough guy?" Only for Batgirl to respond by putting the handcuff on her.
Yeah, putting two handcuffs onto herself so she's in the exact same position.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to which the Joker responds, "Oh, I like you," and cackles as he tackles her.
Mm-hmm. It's a very dynamic action scene.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a fight ensues. He starts to get the upper hand on her, but then she hits him and knees him. But he's able to get his handcuffs around her throat. Oh, and then he starts choking her.
And then she fucking kicks him in the face?
Yeah. It's a very impressive high kick to above her head. Yes. I don't know if it's anatomically possible.
But it's very funny, and it's against the Joker, so it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And then she does a flip over him and gets her handcuffs around his throat.
And then remarks, "You're dead, you son of a bitch!" Only for Batman to intervene, saying, "Enough. That's enough." With Joker just coughing as Barbara has not removed the chains from Joker's throat.
Yeah.
She says very simply, "Let go."
And then we cut to the lovely room in the manor with the big fireplace.
Yes.
For nice brooding conversations.
And oh, it is a brooding conversation we have here. As, Barbara says, "How could you, Bruce? The Joker has my father, and you're helping him? He's torturing him, for God's sake." To which Bruce says, not even looking at Barbara,
just staring at the fire.
Mm-hmm. "It's more complicated than that, Barbara. This isn't just about the Joker. He's only one piece in a much larger puzzle. A puzzle that could prove to be a danger to all of Gotham. Whoever is behind this, simple revenge isn't the endgame. The tasks of the Joker, the signs we've seen, all of it has a larger purpose. Your father is part of that larger purpose. But whoever has him has buried him so deep that even with my resources, I haven't been able to locate him." To which Barbara responds, "Bull. You can find anyone. My father doesn't have your skills or your resources, but if it was Batman that had gone missing, I guarantee you it wouldn't be complicated. He'd find you, no matter what. And what if the Joker kills him, Bruce? Are going to have the Wayne Sims Foundation just cut me a check?" And then, cutting close to Bruce, with the fire reflecting in his eyes, he looks back at Barbara and says, "Barbara, your father was taken for more than just leverage. He's being used as bait. I promise you I'll find him and bring him back. But I need the Joker's help." It's a very intense scene that's done very well. Doesn't take any cheap outs in its dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to mention, just because I guess we need to point out all this good comic book storytelling so people will learn from it. We could have they could have lingered on Batman telling Barbara that's enough and have them argue and have a big explosive fight with each other over it. But instead we cut to them talking about it over the fire and moving the plot forward really quickly. It's very efficient.
With dramatic flair, honestly.
Yes.
With a nice establishing shot of the moon over the manor and then cutting inside to the dramatic fireplace. Bruce not looking at her standing behind him.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very good.
And already, so much has happened in this comic book. We're not even multiple pages in. When we are, but not a lot of pages.
We are not halfway through the file anyway. I think we're halfway through the story, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
It's really impressive. So then we cut to the Batcave with Nightwing back. Always good to see Nightwing in this comic. And there he is bantering with Bruce.
Yeah. As we are back to doing our analysis of all of our evidences and leads, Nightwing is inquiring, for the benefit of us audience, about Donald Sims pulling his research from medical care and transferring it to military applications, which Batman expounds upon.
It was no longer cost-effective for Sims to address the problems he kept coming up against when applying his synthetic cell technology to fight cancer. At some point, he concluded that the military would be less concerned about side effects if it meant they would get a nearly indestructible soldier. We've seen some of the results. But there was a side effect that was especially disturbing. When the new DNA was introduced into the host body, it brought certain memories and traits along with it, something long considered impossible. Because of this, many of the test subjects suffered acute schizophrenia and severe multiple personality disorders. The treatments literally caused them to go insane. And,
we, learning even more about the really messed up things that happen with the predator cells that Sims was working on.
Yeah. And, Dick lays it out on the line. Just says, Sims made the conscious decision to turn his back on the sick, to create even more human suffering, all for his bottom line. And Batman says, in a twisted way, he succeeded. What I'm counting on are his failures. The instability of his predator cell was never fully addressed. The organism, self-cannibalizing due to catastrophic retrogression, remained a risk throughout the clinical trials. Sims' failures may be our only chance against the creatures terrorizing Gotham.
And Alfred speaks up, saying, "Speaking of which, sir, I would be much more confident in the plan if we took the time to do some additional testing." Always the voice of reason.
And pulling away from those three, we see Barbara very coldly drinking from a cup as Bruce iterates with, just obviously Gordon in mind, saying, "Time isn't a luxury we have, Alfred."
Yeah. With Alfred, of course, saying, "No, Master Bruce, I don't suppose it is," as we cut on the next page to that terrible place that Jim Gordon has been, as, the other prisoner has, of course, been slowly cutting pieces out of him. I think it's been a little bit since we checked in on them.
Yeah, I think so.
But, of course, last we saw of what we thought was Gordon, his eye had gotten sipped. But as we cut back, we see that both his eyes are fine. And Carl, the doctory man here, in fact, removed his own eye in order to not have to do anything more to Gordon.
It's probably a really fucked up conversation. Just.
Yeah. And he talks about how he doesn't think he can do it anymore, and he doesn't think that they're going to let them go.
He's not even sure if his wife and daughter are even alive anymore.
He mentions that he was a military doctor in Afghanistan, which is a detail I don't think was made specifically present before. Talking about how he knows that he's made a difference and he knows that he saved lives, but he's feeling very depressed that he couldn't save his wife and daughter.
And Gordon gives him a pep talk about just, not giving up.
It is very Jim Gordon for him to be, chained to a bed, barely conscious, having had surgery done to him multiple times, I believe each time without any anesthetic.
Yep.
but he is holding on, and he is trying to be the voice of just optimism in the room.
The optimism being, you can dismember me another time, and it'll be okay because we'll get saved eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Then, after some more talking and Carl mentioning that nothing could be worse than the pain of losing his family, there's a creak sound, and
Yeah. Presumably the door opening.
yeah, and
Simsa says, "Oh God," and they both turn to look at something.
mm-hmm.
Because
But we cut away.
yeah, because we have to go back to our title characters, Batman and the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker, who now has a super suit.
Woo!
Look at them muscles.
Batman has hooked him up with a nice, pretty, just purple suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite the look.
Yeah. So chiseled.
Mm-hmm. And of course we are cutting here to Batman and the Joker at the church and at the tunnel leading into the villainous lair. And Joker is just rattling off very many funny little lines.
Yes.
Saying, "Holy moly, can I fly in this? I mean, look at me. At the very least, I should be able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, right?"
Of course, referencing Superman as it was established in the cartoon series The Batman. Joker doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, but he's pretty sure Clark Kent is Superman. Batman.
Batman, of course, completely ignores everything the Joker is saying, as usual.
And narrates, "If my analysis is correct, we're headed into uncharted territory against formidable odds. So, like the Joker said on the train, I need to think outside the box." And he says, "There's a backpack over there. Put it on."
Yeah, not sure what the purpose of the backpack is. I don't think it came up this issue. I assume it will come up probably next time.
Yeah.
The two of them crawl down into the hole as Joker asks if it's snacks in the bag, because all great superhero adventures need snacks.
I bet he got that from Harley. Batman narrates, "We descend into the tunnel, past where Amanda Sims died. All that lies ahead of us is darkness." The following page depicts them continuing to descend into that darkness, with very much the imagery of the cover following shortly after.
Yeah, one of the panels is basically just the same image from the cover, just in more horizontal panel form.
Yes. The Batcave computer tracked the marker and mapped out a path through the maze of dark tunnels. That path has taken us under Gotham's East River. In the 1970s, engineers tunneled through the bedrock beneath the waterway as part of a massive expansion to the city's subway system. Design flaws led to several fatal accidents. After millions of dollars and years of construction, the project was permanently shut down. In the decades that followed, any tunnels that hadn't been sealed off were blocked by fallen debris. The passageway has been recently cleared. We're getting close. And this narration throughout the comic has given us like various background on Gotham itself and its history. And each time it feels like it's serving the story as opposed to just being self-indulgent, going up its own ass stuff.
Yeah, and I mean it always as well like feels very correct for Gotham.
Yeah.
Like the very historic church that was like, oh, it was a marvel of engineering, and they say that only God's will kept it up, and then followed by, despite all of the safety warnings,
Mm-hmm.
they built a subway tunnel underneath it.
Yep.
It's just very Gotham to me. And then,
Yes.
like, the ridiculous idea of building a subway station, a glamorous, as we will see in a soon in a panel, as Batman continues to talk about, a glamorous underground, under a river subway terminal. It has, like, Gotham is very often represented by its opulence and its ambition, but also um, by, it being kind of a sit place to live.
Yeah.
There's a ton of corruption, like corners get cut in building things, and like, safety inspectors get bribed and all that, and like everything about this set piece of this abandoned under the river underground subway terminal thing, which is it's simultaneously ridiculous and believable, and it's all Gotham, and I appreciate it a lot.
Me too, honestly. It's something that people like to say when they don't have anything original to say, that Gotham itself is a character in every Batman story. But this is the first time I've actually felt that in a comic book.
Yeah, because it really feels like Gotham, the character of Gotham City is being played to in the bits of history and backstory that are all contributing to this story.
And also with Batman having such a rich knowledge of his history, like, and it's actually a really good platform and an opportunity to bring up like these various like details about Gotham, and like you're not just taking a character who is very like whimsical and carefree and having them ask about the intricate inner workings of a very complex old system for seemingly no reason other than to indulge the writer itself. Um,
Yeah, Batman has every. I mean, like something I really like about the narration as Batman goes is that like it isn't always clear when his narration starts what it has to do with anything, because he just starts talking about like maybe the old the recycling plant, or he
yes,
starts talking about the train, or he starts talking about the subway tunnels, and you're not quite clear where he's going with it. But by the end, you see that it has provided you with a lot of context for what is happening and what is going to happen.
which
Um,
yeah, which you can also just
and
sort of like imagine as being just part of knowing Batman and being with him, like how like Dick probably had a lot of times where like Batman would just start talking and then eventually he'd realize why he was mentioning it.
but it also just feels like Batman is like this is like it feels like his process. It feels like his
Mm-hmm.
mental. He's going through all of these motions of remembering and thinking through all of this history to help himself get a grip on what he might need to do. And like, I mean, Batman often uses the environment around him
Mm-hmm.
to his advantage, and so going through all of his knowledge about everything, certainly it must be a helpful primer in case he needs to do something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a very good and very cool feeling
Yeah,
moments with this like narration in this comic.
for sure. If I may resume.
Yes, Joker interjects in between panels of lovely narration with, "Hey, look, grab grass,"
There's a snort there. It's really fun.
because there are creepy Joker zombie hands just coming out of the goo. I assume that these are ones that have already started self cannibalizing, which is
Yes.
why some of them are only hands, some of them are lacking legs.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in various states of turning into a pile of goo.
Yes. Batman narrates. We're entering Poseidon Station, where all the railways used to intersect. It was designed so passengers could relax while waiting to connect to other trains. The station was to be the crown jewel in a subterranean mall, housing water-themed shops and give commuters a feeling We shopped in restaurants. The concept was to give commuters a feeling of space to reduce any anxiety about the 150 feet of rock and water directly above their heads. Now it is home to something else entirely. And
we get a panel of Joker and Batman staring out into the light. Joker, of course, going, "Whoa," and looking very impressed, and Batman, cloaked in shadow, being very dramatic.
Yes. And the next panel, we see a fuck ton.
Yeah.
A absolute metric fuck ton of Joker zombies.
Yeah, and big, huge pillars, and we can see just, like, more collapsed, just sort of, beams and whatnot in the background. Very, what's the word? Ominous?
Yes.
Ominous. And, of course, Joker intelligently remarks, "That's a lot of me's."
Very good. Very good. Love this guy.
Joker's great. I love the contrast between, Batman's very even, measured, the narration we've been all talking about throughout the past, 5 minutes. And then Joker's interjections of just whatever happens to be on the top of his head at the moment.
Yes.
Mark Silvestri does a very good job of giving us Batman's very calculated feeling thoughts and calculated feeling, statements. But also a very good job of making Joker feel like he has absolutely no idea what he's going to say from one moment to the next, and he has no filter.
Yeah. Batman's narration continues. No attempt is made to stop us. What I found in the Simtech files comes into sharper focus. Hidden in the documents was a secret patients list. The test subjects for the synthetic cell program had been diagnosed with various cancers, all of them terminal. In a matter of weeks, they were all cured. Donald Sims' predator cells exceeded all expectations and destroyed any cancer they encountered. But within months, the subjects' bodies turned against them. Sims employed aggressive treatments to counteract the cell mutations, but encountered a problem he couldn't solve. Early on, he found that blood was the key, specifically a rare blood type with an unusually low antigen component. Sims himself has this blood type, and used samples of his own tissue as the genetic foundation for the synthetic cell.
As Batman and Joker walk through the just big horde of Joker creatures, just staring at them as they go by.
Yeah.
Joker waves to them and is like, "Hey, how you doing? Love what you done with the place. That people garden you got back there? Nice tuts." He's
Batman
great.
is just frowning.
Yeah. It's another fun tuts, and it's an obvious tuts, but it is still fun of just Joker being so vibrant and emotional, and Batman being as reserved as you'd expect Batman to be.
They are entering into a church-like area as the narration continues.
They walk in between the pews, and we see various corpsey heads stuck onto very well... Oh, no, wait, these are just the corpses, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all the dug-up corpses that we're looking at.
Yeah.
All propped up in the pews, and... Yeah.
The grim reality was that for the treatments to work, a genetic match with Sims was needed. Ultimately, this was unachievable, and all of the test subjects died. Except the one that had the necessary genetic characteristics. His daughter, Amanda Sims. We, in the next panel, see a lot more just grisly, gory zombies, corpse faces. And...
Yeah. We see skeletal remains dressed up as bridesmaids, corpsey faces all stuck up into, what's the other... Bridesmaids, what are the guys called?
Grooms?
Groomsmen. Groomsmen.
Yeah.
Right, it's just groomsmen. They don't get a fun title at all. They're just groomsmen. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and we also see a couple of heads staked onto sticks, also all dressed up fancy. And there is, of course, a skeletal priest.
Batman continues. The wedding party is made up of what I assume are the guests killed at St. Gabriel's Cathedral. The SWAT team from that day, as well as Joker's gang, act as groomsmen. They're all here, heads mounted on pikes. Bobby Two Teeth, Harry Mills, Slam Wilson, Ronnie the Chopper Gibbs, Officers Lang, Wheatley, Dash, Blix, and Bennett. And we see Bennett's very recently killed face just plopped onto a body.
Yeah. Looking better than the rest, as he only died, like, tonight.
Yeah.
Everyone else has been kind of sitting around, and it must smell awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
This grotesque stage play has been planned for a long time. The sets were built, the bodies dug up and arranged. Whatever happens, we were meant to be here from the very beginning. Only a few players remain. With a set of feet racing towards Batman and the Joker as the voice says, "Pardon!" And in the next page, we see it's Harley.
Harley's here, wearing quite an outfit.
Yeah, there's like, it's like a tutu, but it's also like a...
It's very much an homage to her classic outfit, but with a lot more skin sewing.
Yeah. Good for her, good for her.
Yeah, honestly, it's a neat outfit.
I wouldn't mind if she just wore this.
Yeah, and she's got like a jester's cap thing going on with ribbons in her hair, and
It's quite lovely. It's quite lovely.
it's an interesting look.
Harley declares, "I knew you'd come. I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Oh, I missed you so much."
Yeah, and she leaps at the Joker and starts kissing him, and he mentions that she maybe missed a few baths as well, because he's been kept in a pit with rats.
And then in the pews, I think,
Yes.
we see Donald Sims sitting there.
Yeah, not dressed up all nice.
No.
He is just wearing like a white shirt and brown pants. And he's not looking happy. And his text boxes are all like wibbly, and the text within it is not very steady, to so that he is speaking not very steadily. As he says, "Batman, we need to get out of here."
Batman's narration remarks, "Donald Sims, I had hoped I was wrong."
And then the real bombshell of, not a terrible surprise, but a nice twist nonetheless, of dialogue comes as we get, in the corner of this panel,
Father.
Don't be rude.
And then in the next page, we see...
We get a nice, near full page panel of just the lovely, pale and creepy bride in her black wedding gown, striding between the pews, and, the big reveal of our true villain.
Amanda Sims.
Mm-hmm.
Remarked that you can't tell the guests of honor to leave their own party. Batman narrates, "I pored over the data, seen what Sims research was capable of, saw the gravesite, but I had hoped that what now stands before me was simply not possible." But it very much is, as we zoom in on her very jokery face, and she says...
Well, not really jokery, because he definitely doesn't have the same character. She's very pale, but her eyes are both like... Right, we probably should have mentioned, Donald Sims does have a left eye and is creepy exactly as we figured it was. But he has two creepy eyes that are red, seemingly glowing pupils in the midst of black sclera with like dark veins going through her pale skin.
Yes.
Um,
She says, "Hello, Joker. Hello, Batman. We've one last guest to welcome, and then we can begin. Ah, here he is."
and Jim Gordon is pushed into frame, his hands bound and connected to a rope. He's pushed in, of course, by some of the Joker monsters.
Batman.
We actually get to see a bit of emoting from Batman.
Who just says, "Jim."
And Jim Gordon, looking up at him after being held captive, chained to a bed, having his organs removed surgically without anesthetic, and says, "It's good to see you, old friend. Ready to kick some ass?"
Oh, man.
Because again, Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
God, I fucking love this comic book.
Mm-hmm. And we end off on "To Be Continued" as our heroes are surrounded by Joker creatures. Jim is here. Harley's here. Amanda Sims is here.
Yeah! Gosh.
Oh boy.
It's a big reunion.
Yeah.
Ah.
And then, of course, the comic ends off with giving us some beautiful inked pages by Mark Silvestri.
Yes.
We get Bennett's demise. We get the Batgirl reveal. Very nice. Brooding in the Batcave. The reveal of the big area where this is all taking place. Looking at the wedding party. And, of course, we get Amanda Sims in all of her glory, because how could they not include this one?
Yeah. Oh, man. It is... Whew. It's so good to read a good comic.
It is.
This is a really good issue.
This issue definitely didn't have as much like fun Joker content as the train issue.
Yes.
But it was still very, very good.
Yes.
It was... Oh, gosh. We're definitely in this book moving into the finale pretty soon.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. We're at 507. There's just two more left. Whew. I don't know how this is going to end up, honestly.
Me neither. I'm at a loss, but this is I feel like I'm ready to just stick with it until the end.
Yeah. Even if the next two are somehow, I don't think they will be, but even if they were somehow to be like a disappointing final two, I think I could still wholeheartedly recommend this just on the strength of these first 5 parts.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it gets. It would have to be really bad to somehow spoil what the amazing run we've had up until now.
Yeah. And gosh, it's really cool to read a comic that is not taking anything for granted. That even though it's literal Mark Silvestri, who I hadn't realized this before, but in last reviews, but he is a founder of Image Comics.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of a big get for them to get this guy, and he could have easily just been like, "Oh, I'm Mark Silvestri. I've been doing comic books for years. I could just do a shitty comic and people will eat it up." Even if it was a shitty comic with very impressive art, people would probably have still bought it up and been like, "Oh fuck, Mark Silvestri is so good." But it's just
what we've been getting is, I mean, it's such a Batman story.
Yes.
This comic has such a wonderful understanding of Batman as a character and of the Joker as a character, and considering that it's titled Batman and the Joker, those are the two most important parts.
Yep, and it's been delivering in ways that we never even dared hope possible. when we
Yeah.
started looking at these comics. When we read this first issue, the first book of this limited series, we were
Hmm.
like, I don't know if this is gonna be good. It sounds really gritty in the solicit, but it's also Batman and Joker teaming up. I want to read that content, and we've been
Yeah.
reading it, and it's been great, and it's still great.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I am invested in the Joker, and I have a lot of strong opinions on how the Joker is typically written and
Yeah,
such, which I'm sure I will get into in more detail at a later date.
yeah.
But so having a Batman and the Joker team up comic, a thing that
Mm.
I did second. I don't think it's been done before. Um,
Strangest thing.
it's weird. Do you think it would? That idea and that concept really appealed to me, but based on Batman comics can be very good.
Hmm.
There's also just a litany of problems that are common to Batman comics that I remember talking about in our first review,
Yes.
which haven't come up as much as it's gone on, which has been quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Um, but then Batman comics also have another thing that kind of keeps them down a lot, and that is being embarrassed about you know the the old like live action shows and whatnot. And
Yeah. That.
there is a there is a very common thing that will happen where a Batman comic will be overly gritty, overly dark, overly serious, and it feels like it's just trying to be like, no, I'm a real mature comic. And of course, as we all know, that is the most immature stance to take.
Yeah. And throughout this comic, we've been getting like just these flourishes that like even amidst the grittiness, like have been showing just an overall appreciation for Batman. Every like iteration of Batman, like I
Hmm.
think like twice maybe, like or at least once, Dick said like a holy something or other.
Yeah. I think he said holy werewolves, right? Or
Yeah,
holy full moon.
yeah. Oh, it was so good.
Ah, right. It was issue like 3 or something.
Yeah, and like Dick has been great in this comic.
Oh, yeah. He, of course, hasn't been getting as much of a focus as our main two title characters.
Of course.
But yeah, basically every time he's been there has been great, which is, I'm a fan of Dick Grayson, so happy about that.
It's good when Dick Grayson is written well, and
Yeah,
he is written well in this comic. Batman is written well in this comic, which isn't something I can say all the time.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of instances where Batman will be written. It feels in opposition to things, and not just, of course, embarrassment about, campy live action shows, but like, I don't know, it feels like people write Batman to reject the things I like about Batman.
That for sure, and also just like whatever they're angry about in society. And unfortunately, a lot of Batman writers are very angry about how the crazies are being treated too well.
Yeah, which is again a Batman problem.
Mm-hmm.
Arkham Asylum is a thing that exists.
Yeah,
Batman's villains are heavily pathologized, and
yeah,
their mental illnesses are villainized and used as like a reason to be cruel to them, a reason to dehumanize them, which is bad.
mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's a Batman typical problem,
Mm-hmm.
as I've come to call them.
Yeah, and in this comic, it really feels like, as opposed to writing a Batman that isn't things, this Batman is a character that just believes in things, stands for things, wants to help, wants to make sure people are going to be okay. He's not like overly concerned with like posturing in a way that'll protect the writer's masculinity or whatever. Just
Yeah.
it's very much just some of the better Batman writing I've seen. as of late.
There was a line that I quite enjoyed right at the beginning, actually, during Batman's narration. Yeah. Just, when he's narrating about the Wayne Sims Foundation,
Yeah.
saying that it takes care of those caught in the crossfire, the police and Batman's war on crime, dot dot dot, a thumb in the broken dam of Gotham.
Yeah. It's just,
And
in so few words, it just expresses so much, like, guilt about, like, and just like stress about like the state of things in the city he has chosen to protect.
yeah, and like sometimes it feels like people criticize Batman either within the story or like, people outside of the comic looking in, kind of just because he doesn't make everything better. And number one, for the people outside the comic doing it, if he made everything better, there wouldn't be a comic.
Yeah.
Like let's just be all adults here.
Mm-hmm.
If Batman killed the Joker, then the Giggle Man would arrive and he would start killing people, and then he would kill him, and then Hootsalot would come by and he'd start killing people, and then Batman would kill. It wouldn't actually solve anything, because if you don't kill your villains in comics, you have to make new ones, because that's how a superhero comic does things. There's a superhero who fights a supervillain, and either you can keep them around and not kill them, or you can constantly kill them and constantly have to make new, constantly worse ones.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that because, like, I have other reasons why I'm opposed to why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker, but just from a writing perspective, it is worse
Yeah.
if you kill all your villains,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to have a character around for any length of time to give them time to percolate and be a character and to have any history.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why people keep pointing out the Joker and why they think Batman should kill him is because the Joker has been around long enough that the Joker matters.
Yeah.
If he'd been killed, guess what no one would be saying?
Yeah. It just.
But also, from another perspective, I like seeing a Batman who understands that he is not... I feel like he is not doing what he thought he would be doing when he became Batman.
Mm.
He thought he was going to fix Gotham. He thought he was going to, make it so that no one would have to suffer the way he suffered as a child. And ultimately, that has not gone to plan.
No.
That has not worked. It is not working how he anticipated it. It's not working the way he would have liked it to work. But that doesn't mean it's not working.
Yeah.
Crisis prevention is a very complicated, state of affairs, and, while you can't save everyone, that's no reason why you should give up and not save someone.
Yeah.
And throughout this comic, of course, Batman has repeatedly been unable to save everyone. Those city parents in issue 2 or 3, they...
Yeah, I think it was 3.
They died.
They did.
And then during the train scene in time, he did his best. He did as much as anyone could have expected him to do. And still, 6 people died.
Yeah.
And then all the people who've been assassinated by the Joker zombie creatures, they're all people that he couldn't save either.
It's paralleled by Carl, the doctor in this comic, just talking about like how he's been able to help people, he's been able to save people, but he hasn't been able to. He wasn't able to save his wife and daughter. At least he thinks he might not have.
Yeah, he is fully under the belief that his family is probably dead, and the idea that those are lives that he couldn't save is weighing on him. Even as rationally he understands that he has done a lot of good, he has helped a lot of people, he has saved lives.
Yeah.
It still doesn't alleviate the guilt he feels for not being able to save those that he couldn't.
This comic has layers to it.
Yeah, and they're very Batman layers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember we talked about it in the comic with the train and all that, just the amount of layers, and that was about one very specific thing, but also just this comic is saying things about Batman as a whole, and
Yeah.
Batman's mission, and, you know, what he is trying to accomplish, what he is accomplishing, what he is not accomplishing, and, like,
Yeah.
it's very good.
I really like
Um,
it.
I don't know if this comic is ultimately going to end on, like, a statement, or if this is more a comic that muses about things and leaves it to us, the reader, to have our own conclusions.
Potentially.
Um, I also don't know if like it'll just continue to be more behind the scenes, more just part of what makes the story really good. This sort of passive analysis of Batman as a character. Because I've seen comics that have very actively analyzed Batman as a character and have very much
Yeah.
addressed Batman as like the main thrust of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, the the reflection upon Batman and who he is and how he um, is happening as part of all of it, but it. Trying to think of how to explain it. Like, there is a main thrust of a plot here in which um, Gordon and Harley are kidnapped. Batman has to team up with the Joker, and there's a mystery going on with like weird zombie creatures and all that. And that
Mm-hmm.
is the story. That is the plot of what is happening. And the comic never stops being about that.
Yeah.
But the comic is also about more than that. It's about Batman as a character. It's about all of these heavy questions I've just been rambling about.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, with a character as storied as Batman, with a character that has so many versions and variants, and so many writers having their own takes on who Batman is, what he stands for, how he thinks, what he thinks, it's hard, I think, to tell a Batman story with any amount of like emotional weight to it that doesn't have to ask or talk about these sorts of questions, if nothing else than just to say, this is who Batman is according to this writer.
Yeah.
Though here it definitely does feel like, just with the how well it is being done and how good it all is, it feels like Mark Silvestri is very deliberately in a way that I guess what I'm if you're not interested in the pathos of Batman and the sort of struggle of his overall career against, the terrors that plague Gotham, and you're not really here for that exploration, at least so far in these first 5 issues, you don't have to look at it. You don't have to think about it to the depth that I have been, and
Yeah.
that we've been discussing it. But you can just be here for this story about Batman teaming up with the Joker, and the Joker's a silly guy, and
Yeah.
you're fighting weird zombie men, and you can totally enjoy it on that level, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it on that level. It. I do want to say,
Uh.
just because I don't talk about and we in general in this review, just because we aren't talking about the action as much as we're talking about the writing, doesn't mean we don't enjoy it. It's just that this is a critical review focusing on the storytelling,
Yes.
so we will naturally focus more on the parts that are deeper and the parts that are more nuanced, because there's more to talk about there from our perspective.
Yeah, and
But it doesn't mean that I don't want anyone thinking that like if you read this comic and you don't really pick up on these things, that's fine. You don't have to.
totally.
This is just what I'm into.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just being a little silly nerd guessing about, little subtleties in dialogue and whatnot. But I also really love the fight scenes and the purple suit that Joker gets to wear
Yeah.
and all that. It's just yeah, for the purposes of our review and the things we tend to focus on, because they're easier to talk about. Um, yeah, we focus on those, but
There's lots of different ways you can enjoy a good comic book.
yeah, and this is definitely a comic that I think you can enjoy in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Even if you're not into again all this sort of stuff, I recommend this comic for again if you can handle the gore is
If
my
you,
big thing.
if you can handle the gore and you have ever enjoyed Batman in your life, I think this will really do you good because it's been really doing us good.
It is so good.
But yeah, next month we're going to be seeing book 6.
Yeah. Did you have any more thoughts yourself about?
It's just I think I've already gone over all of my thoughts in that it's just a really damn good comic, and it's so refreshing just to see someone who doesn't waste our time, doesn't talk down to us, who's here not to like just like indulge himself, but to like say something, to like to like find different things about Gotham and then like think about them, and like
Yeah.
it's just really impressive and just well done, and I don't feel alienated. I feel included as I read this comic. And
And I mean,
yeah.
I think something else about because you're talking about like, and we have been talking about how like it draws upon so much of what Batman is and so much of what the Joker is and who they are, and it's the set dressing and the backstory of it all feels so Gotham in just so many beautiful ways, and terrible ways and ugly ways because it's
Hideous
Gotham,
ways,
baby.
yes.
But like, you don't need to be like a deep in comics fan to understand all of this. If you watched, I don't know, the movies in the 90s or whatever, you can probably enjoy this and get a ton of it. If you watched Batman the Animated Series, go ahead, read this. You're gonna probably love it.
Yeah. Chapter 6 will be coming out in April 4th. That's very early in the month, so that'll be nice for us, though we will have to wait another month for the final part, which will be
Yeah.
a lot. But if I may go ahead and read the solicit for issue 6.
Right, yeah. That's a thing we started doing.
Yeah. After a bloody, brutal, and harrowing adventure across and underneath Gotham, Batman and the Joker have unearthed the true culprit behind the dark scheme against them. Now, the deadly duo find themselves unwilling participants in a bone-chilling wedding ceremony in the catacombs beneath Gotham City. Get ready for unholy matrimony in this horrific penultimate chapter that needs to be seen to be believed. So there's that. And I think the A cover is just includes that drawing of Amanda Sims we got in this issue, like front and center.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm on board. I'm sold.
Yeah, this comic has fully earned my confidence, and my love, and my everything. I would not have... I don't want to keep rambling on about it, because we keep bringing it up, like, I think every review, but I definitely didn't see this being so good, and definitely didn't see this being, I think this is going to continue, is going to be, like, a favorite of mine to tell people about when it comes to Batman comics, when it comes to the Joker and comics. And
I think it's the first issue where we haven't opened it on when's the other shoe gonna drop though. Because I think at this point we're kind of thinking maybe there's no other shoe. Maybe it's just
I'm not expecting another shoe to drop anymore. It's just like
it's just really good.
At first I just had expectations based on other Batman comics to wrestle with, and then I was like, well, it's too good to be true. It can't be true. It's true. At this point, it is happening. It's true. It's gorgeous. And read this comic if you care about Batman and can handle the gore.
Yeah. So, I think that's about all we've got for y'all today.
I think I have fully exhausted all of my rambling on about the philosophies of Batman energy for this review.
It's so good. We'll be back again with something else, but for now, thank y'all for watching. We try to stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Neither of which are today.
Yeah. But please feel free to follow us to try and catch us when we are on schedule and when we're not. And if you're,
I did want to make it for yesterday, but there was a child in my house.
Yeah,
they're loud.
They're very loud. Background noise is a heck of a thing. And if you're watching from the YouTube VOD channel, which is linked to in our Twitch profile's description, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. Closer reads the comments.
Yeah.
And we do have the Twitch account linked to on every description for every VOD, so you can find us there and try and get at us.
Yeah, follow us and all that.
But until next time, I'm Felicia Rondo, and that's Cluster right over there.
Hey.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.